evening, fellow human beings. Nice to see you nice. Wrong way. Okay. So I hope you're all having a beautiful evening, and now you're going to bliss out listening to Nonduality, and then you're going to sleep and have an amazing night's sleep. Or maybe it's your morning and you're going to have an amazing day. Yes. Okay, so I hope everyone can hear me. I hope everything is working. Yeah, da. Yes, there we go. Let me open Skype. And off we go. So if this is your first time, I'll quickly let you know how it works. If you want to ask me questions, then you do through Skype, which is Lisa Cairns 12. So that's Lisa Cairns 12, and you can find that information in the box below and just send me a request. Please note that I take phone calls ahead of written questions. And if you want to phone in, make sure you've got good internet connection and a headset with a microphone. It's really important because it's not very fair on other people if you call in and it's all like echoey and jittery. So please check that. And in Skype, you can go to Skype. Hang on, just let me tell you what it is. You go to Skype and then you go up to, click on Skype and go to audio and video settings, and then you can do a test call to make sure that your audio is working well. And so if you want me to call you, just put call me in the chat box, but don't put anything else after it. So just call me so I can see as I go down all the different questions, because I go down the chat bar in the side. And then the way that the talk works is that I do a bit of a meditation in the beginning, so silent sitting, and then I do an introduction. And the name of the talk today is a quote by Krishnamurti: "The observer is the observed." And then I do questions and answers. So question and answers about 7 o'clock. We're now at 12 minutes past 6. Yes, 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 yes. Okay, so we shall start with the meditation. So meditation is such a loaded word for most people. And I really don't perceive this as very serious when I say meditation. It's just basically coming together and sitting in silence together. And I see that as a really beautiful thing. I don't see that as something that will get you enlightened. I don't even know what that word means to you. And who would be the person that gets enlightened? I see it as a technique that can be used to settle people down, like to settle the thinking back down, to be more introspective. I said that word right. And to just stop doing something. However, I also acknowledge that it's not appropriate for everybody. I think that there's been research found that for some people meditation is really disturbing, and when they sit there they just get into OCD or past trauma. So it's not for everybody. I'm not recommending you do it. However, it's what I like to do when I begin talks. So there's 3 different meditations that I recommend. There is just sitting there and doing nothing. So just letting your mind think about whatever it wants to think of, and no control. It's just sitting there for like 15 minutes, which will most probably sit, and having no control over it. The next one is the mindfulness of breathing, which is just counting your breath. So every time you breathe in, you ascend. So you start at 1 and you ascend all the way up to number 10. So every time you take a breath in, you go up a number. So first breath, 1, second breath, 2. And then when you get to number 10, you go all the way back to the beginning again. And this is called the mindfulness of breathing. And that's it. And this is just about focusing your mind. And the next one that I recommend is putting your attention in I am. So every time you notice your mind drifting off, you just come back to that visceral sense of I am. I am. And if you don't really know what I am is, then you can just use the word I am. So that is all. You can skip forward over this if it's not your thing. If you're listening to recorded, most people are listening to the recorded version. You can skip over it. But if not, you can join me. Okay, we shall begin. Hello. Let me just try and force quit some things. I don't know if you can hear, but my computer sounds like a hurricane. So we have the quote from Krishnamurti today. The observer is the observed. The observer is the observed. So that's quite the title. Oh, pardon me. My apologies. Pardon me, it was not me, it was, what was it? Was my, I've forgotten the saying. They have a little song in England. Okay. Just quick preview as well. There we go. I make it stop sounding like it's going to take off at any moment. So, off we go. Boo, 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 boo. Are we going off? We're going off in our little jumbo jet, our non-duality jumbo jet. Oh, you're so beautiful. So, off we go in our non-duality jumbo jet. So, as a disclaimer, I want to say that, if you're having lots of problems in the personal world, if you're having like relationship problems, if you're having emotional problems, all these types of things, then explore non-duality, explore this subject. But there's also lots of other areas in which you can explore, like therapy, emotional releases techniques, trauma, like understanding the psychology of the person. So what I'm trying to say is, don't try to use the absolute to try and fix the personal. It's never gonna work. Non-duality is not gonna fix your life. It's a nice dream, eh? I'll disappear into the absolute, and then all my mortgage, my debt, my relationship issues will be done for. Maybe it will. It is the end of what I call suffering. And I think there's like great nuggets which can be used as jumping boards into exploration. But if you're traumatized by a childhood experience, then it's most probably better to go to a specialist in that. Okay, end of disclaimer. On to the observer is the observed. So what does that mean? Well, I don't know in the end what Krishnamurti means. That's personal to him. What we like to imagine is we like to imagine that there is like certain words and sayings and ways of being which is like fact all across the board. So I understand the observer and the observed the same as Krishnamurti and other teachers, whereas actually that's not the case. We all have different associations with different words and different meanings. So we never know if we're talking about the same thing. So I never know if I'm talking about the same thing as other teachers or as people that come to the talk, and neither do you either. We can't be sure about that. I remember watching this film when I was like 25 or 26, whenever it came out originally, called Waking Life. It's such a sweet film if you ever get to see it. And I remember like this whole big speech about love and our different interpretations of love. And it's so interesting to think about that, because when I was 26, I hadn't had this really strong awakening. And it wasn't until after that awakening that I really knew what it was to love someone. And so it's funny, like imagining myself as 26-year-old Lisa listening to this talk about love and everyone's different interpretation of it. And then now thinking back, but prior, where I didn't know what love was, and then after knowing what love was, or what my interpretation of love was. Maybe there's still like another realm of it. Like Russian dolls, like keep opening the lid and there's more and more and more and more. But rather than the doll getting smaller, it's getting bigger. You open a small one and then you get to a bigger one, which is kind of abstract. So to me, what the observer and the observed means is that that which is looking is what is looked at. So the essence, the big consciousness, that which is looking, the consciousness, is the same as what it's conscious of. So it is the computer. The consciousness is the computer. It is the room. It is the window. It is the blind. It is the dog. It is the dog bed. It is the chair. It is the cardigan. It's the black color. It's the beige color. It's the sound of my voice. So to me, that's what it means, which ironically kind of makes consciousness disappear, the concept or the idea of consciousness. And this is where you get to all there is everything. Like there is no observer observing anything. There is simply everything. And this is when we begin to get into these energetic shifts. So when you're identified with the body, it feels like consciousness is behind the eyes, like consciousness is located somewhere. And then when you have these energetic shifts, it's that consciousness is actually everywhere, and that consciousness is actually no thing, not one thing. So the observer is the observed. And if the observer is the observed, then it also means that it's not one thing, it's all things. That's heaven. It's like my whole body goes into bliss saying that. Heaven. This subject is so beautiful. But this subject is not going to fix your life. You on the human level have to work out your dynamics on the human level. Often when you get into non-duality, what happens, excuse me, there is a boga that's decided to manifest in the nostrils, which is so crazy, the idea that we have bogies, boogers. So it's not going to fix the human level, knowing that. It can improve the human level because often in the process of the detachment from the human, you have to understand the human and there has to be a seeing of the human. But it's not going to fix it. It's a detachment from the personality structure. It's a detachment from the character. When there's identification, it feels like the character is looking out of those eyes. Hello, ooh, I'm in here. I am here and I am solid. And then what happens is there is like a detachment from that character. You could actually say it's not a detachment because it's actually like going fully into being the character as well. But it's the character stops being the observer and the observer is everything. And it's an energetic shift. The observer is the observed. So it's this big energetic explosion. So that energy, all this energy the humans invested in making consciousness mine and personal inside, explodes back out into everything. And that to me is freedom and the end of suffering. But it doesn't fix the human. Doopy, doopy, doopy. The human still has to deal with the shit and the piss and the forgetfulness and the relationship issues and people dying, the building falling down, tsunamis, thunderstorms. Can't think of those big storms. Gunk coming out of your eye in the middle of the talk, or having your flies undone when you've got 1,000 people visiting your talk. Being rejected, losing your money. All these things, aeroplane crashes, running someone over, your car dying, Corona. Oh. Well, that's that video suppressed now. I know you guys will think I'm conspiracy when I say that, but I promise you, well, I don't promise you actually. My suspicion is that every time I mention it, my videos get suppressed. So rather than being like a certain amount of views after a couple of days, it's a lot less, which is okay in the end. So it doesn't stop all these things. Oh, and if you're not into computers, like, and you might really think that I'm mad now that I think that it's algorithms. They go through your video and they're testing everything you're saying. So as soon as you upload it, the algorithm goes through quickly and it's checking for keywords of what you're saying. So anything to do with the, if you say, or all these different things, then you're more likely to get suppressed. And I watch it in my videos. And the reason that it bugs me is because I want to be bloody famous. I want to be like thousands and thousands and thousands of views so my ego can grow and be like, yeah. The reason it bugs me, why does it bug me actually? That isn't the actual reason. Why does it bug me? I don't know, it's like if your computer's glitching. Because I don't actually want it to grow, because I find it's just like I just want everything to stay the same with my work. Just to stay the same, because growing feels too much, but just staying the same. But it bugs me because it's like YouTube has won or something. I don't know what it is, but there is some little bug in Lisa that goes, and I see that it's being suppressed because of words I've said. It's like my little anti-government thing. Anyway, what was I saying? I was talking about non-duality and the observer and the observed. Yeah, it's absolute freedom, but it doesn't fix the human. So please, like I always say, if you've got human issues, there's lots of things to do. You can look on my reference page. You can book a one-to-one session and I help you explore it. You can go to a therapist, all these different things. But that's only relative. Like fixing the human is just about making your life better, which is a great thing. It's making your pleasure more and helping you feel more balanced and enjoying life. But the actual freedom is that separation. Because what it does is it breaks this seeking and this attachment and investment into time. So it's like when the human and the consciousness are identified, the human always feels like it's lost something, which it has, the absolute, it's lost who it is. And then when it feels like it's lost something, it then begins to believe that it's in pleasure, it's in getting the money, it's in the house, it's in this, it's in that. So then it's like it becomes too attached to the timeline, it becomes too invested in the dream. And then when this detachment happens, or this break from the person happens, it's like everything is passing through a lot easier. And your general state of being is like a state of love, like your basis is a place of love. Even though that love sort of becomes more and less intense throughout the day, it's like generally you feel more connected to love and peace and harmony. Yeah. But it doesn't fix your life. I know that people like this idea. Like often I work with people and they lecture me about how like becoming enlightened fixes everything. And I love that idea. It's not my experience. It might be that I'm not enlightened enough, but it also feels like a bit of a trap as well. Like it feels like this seeking energy, like this constant striving for perfection, and then also this attachment to the flow of life. But it could also be it's something like I've not experienced, like the There could be something else that happens in me, and then suddenly I become really powerful at manifesting and controlling everything. That feels like quite a lot of responsibility. I really need to go pee-pee, but I'm really comfortable. This is always the way with the toilet. I have this in the night. I wake up and I'm like, oh, balls. I'm sure a lot of other people too as well. They're like, they realize they've got a full bladder, but then it's like the choice of getting out of your nice warm bed and going to the toilet and relieving yourself, or staying in the warmth. The other thing about this is this going back to the observer, which is the observed, the observer, which is the observed, is very present. Like your essence is absolutely present. So that which is watching is really present. It's not an activity that you need to do, because it's the way it is. Like once you step out of the way, you see it's something you are. That's why I say like meditation like isn't about becoming enlightened, because meditation is an activity that's happening in the dream. And the observer, which is the observed, is kind of prior to the dream, or it's kind of already here. It is the dream. It's like here already, still and silent, and it's like a shift in energy rather than something that the person obtains. And it's like really present. So you're watching, your essence is like incredibly present and still and silent, but not as an activity. Like the person can be chaotic and think a lot. Like I have quite a chaotic mind that is like really into images and think. I don't know if my mind thinks a lot, but it's like I love storytelling or anything that evokes images in my imagination. You know, and you know, blah 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 blah. She goes, yakety yakety yak, the same stuff every week, same but different. And every week I come with as much passion as I did the week before, and it feels as fresh and as new from this perspective. And then in the week, I do 9 sessions every week. I can't do any more than 9 sessions. That's my max. So every week I do 9, and I always go over in my sessions. Not all the time, but often go over. So say if I do 9 hours, and then I do another 5 hours onto that of going over, or 4 hours, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That's 13 hours. Then 2 hours of this, 13, 14. 15 hours a week of talking about this. I suppose it's not that much actually, but I still feel as fresh as the first time I ever spoke about it, and just as in awe. I love Nonduality. It's the love of my life. It is love. It's the most beautiful subject there is. That which is looking is the looked at. There is no separation. That this experience is oneness, not two-ness. And that isn't a human experience. It's beyond the human. It's who you truly are. It's the most intimate sense of being. It's everywhere. It's everything. It is this. And to me, I don't know how humans make it through their life without this. Life is so complex. It's such a complex game that we're playing. We only get to see this moment, but yet every choice we make in this moment drastically, seemingly affects what's going to happen or not happen. Even though that's not really how it is, because there's only one choice that can ever be made, and that's the choice that will be made. So in a way, you could say it's like all destined, it's all written. However, it's like an intense game that we're playing. It's like Russian roulette, but we think it's a lot more controllable than it is. Yes. Look at me with my flappy arms. What am I doing? I'm just sat here like flapped over arms. Hello. This excitement. So to me, that is the most beautiful quote there is. The observed and the observer are the same. The observer is the observed. So beautiful. And it's completely impersonal. The person is always in this and that. It's in time. It's in coming from, going to. Like your person is always an imagination in time. Like, who are you right now? The person is about like where I've been, what I've done, where I'm going to go. I'm going to get this. I'm going to have pizza tonight. I'm going to go shopping tomorrow. I'm going to meet my mum. I'm a nice person. I'm a bad person. I'm a guilty person. It's always in time. Me and time. You'll notice the word in English, T-I-M-E. There's always me in time. And that is not from me. I have to say that is from Tony Parsons, I think, who says that. You could also say it's consciousness or God that said that. But that would be like the most narcissistic thing I could possibly say if I went, that is God speaking. It's not really like that. It is like that, and it isn't. Like, it's, you got to be careful with these words, because, you know, it's like a magnet for them narcissists. And from the narcissistic element in me, like, everyone has like narcissistic tendencies, not trying to excuse it, and the narcissistic tendency in me. That is God speaking. This is God speaking. You are being directly communicated from nothing. And then all the students feel incredibly special, like all people listening. God is speaking directly to me through this human form. I have the most amazing teacher. I mean, it's just like the magnetism. It's like the fly net for narcissism. So we have to be careful, because it's not exactly like that, because everything that is spoken out of this body comes through the filter of Lisa. Everything in this whole world is directed by God. So we've got to be careful not to specialize like one thing over the other. Like, there might not be the attachment here to Lisa, but it's still going through the filter of Lisa. Otherwise, like, what would stop it suddenly coming out Japanese or in toad or in dog? But this subject, the observer is the observed, is so beautiful, because who is experiencing now? There is nobody experiencing now. There is nobody speaking now. The person is always in time. It's always something that's never here. It's gone. I am going shopping tomorrow. There's an image of you, and then it's gone. It's being watched. It's being observed. And then it's gone. But yet your essence, it's always here. It's only ever present. It's only ever happening. And that's who you are. That's what everything is. It's absolute love. It's absolute freedom. It's not an activity. An activity is something that's watched. It is. Okay, I have to go to the toilet now. My apologies. Didn't make it very far into the talk before I had to go and relieve myself. Okay, so we can begin the questions and answers. Wir kann beginnen. So if you have any questions, then you can write to me on Skype. My Skype address is lisacairns12. Find it in the box below. And if you want me to call you, the calls will get preference. Please put call me, and then I will call you. Nothing else after call you, so I can see it. Okay, so we go to Lucas first. He says, call me. I just say this and just do a little bit of talking because otherwise it's super intense for him. Like I suddenly call because you guys are like 10 or 20 seconds behind me. So just letting it catch up. So please remember, if you are getting ready to put call me, headset, good internet connection, and practice on Skype beforehand. Yeah? Thank you. Merci. Danke.
Hello.
Hey, Lucas.
Do you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you great. That sounds perfect.
Oof. Yeah, I like to take a moment.
Yeah, sure. Please take your time.
All right. So, last time when I wanted to call, I wanted to make sense of a God experience. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I talk about that first, maybe.
Okay.
So I ate some special truffles beforehand, and yeah, laid myself in my bed and realized, yeah, me being not there, that this body is not Lucas. This body is just a body. There's, yeah, a Lucas there. And I felt God spinning till infinity, spinning out like infinite, yeah, spinning out the world, or making the world into existence, or bringing it into existence. And it felt so devoid of anything human. It's just pure existence being manifested into form.
Did it have a sense of negativity or positivity?
No, there was just existence.
Okay.
And only after like me coming back, Lucas coming back, I could like feel, yeah, sure, there was no human there. It was just this being.
Yeah.
And after that, yeah, there was an experience of infinite warping, like as if all so-called human existence was just a smokescreen, and the real thing going on is just infinite warping till infinity.
What's warping mean to you?
It's like a
Like
turning.
fractals.
Yeah, you could say so. Yeah. Like a ball spinning, but existence spins. Yeah. Yeah, and when I like remember now, it just feels so distant, so foreign. So, well, I'm like versed, so to speak, and
You're what? Sorry.
I know, like, okay, I've met God and infinity, and I cannot make sense of the experience, or I know all that, but it still feels yeah, I cannot really like grapple or grasp that still.
Is that a question in some way? Are you asking me something, or are you just expressing? Like I'm not like judging. I mean, like, are you asking me to try and help explain it to you, or are you quite content with not understanding it?
I would like you to speak anything that comes to your mind.
Okay. So to me, what happened in that experience, I won't ask you what type of special truffles you had. But for me, that experience is the complete detachment from the person. So it's to me would be like what I would refer to as an awakening experience. So you detach completely from the person. And it's actually only half the size of the coin. Like to me, that was like when you say existence, that was like a nothing existence. So there's also the everything part of existence, which is love. And normally when we have these waking up experiences, they are divided into these different categories. So sometimes you get the love one without the nothingness, and sometimes you get the nothingness without the love. And basically what it does, and what's so beautiful about it and so amazing, is it takes out everything. So you really clearly see that the observer or existence is experiencing itself. So I'll give, like, to me, I think it's similar to an experience that I had when I was in India. I've talked about this before on the live stream. I talk about it with people in one-to-one sessions. And the reason I talk about it is because I think it's like really clear. And it wasn't like afterwards I came back and afterwards there was still suffering. But after that experience, I knew what God was, or I knew what the divine was. I knew what was being talked about. So what happened to me was I was in India, I was laying on the bed, and I may not have fallen asleep. But in the experience, what happened was that everything vanished. So Lisa vanished, the room vanished, all things vanished, time vanished, thoughts vanished, people vanished. Everything that you could possibly think of or imagine vanished. Sounds vanished, feelings vanished. So I had no sense of the body, I had no sense of Lisa, I had no sense of the room, I had no sense of anything. But there was still consciousness, there was still this awakeness, or maybe what you're calling existence. So there was awakeness with no content. And I could have been there forever, and it wasn't even me being there, because Lisa had no sense of herself. The awakeness was nowhere and everywhere, but there was no everywhere to be because there was nothing. And then at some point, a thought came back in and said, this is what they talk about. But I didn't know who Lisa was, so I didn't know who these people were that were talking about it. And so then the next thought that said, but if there is these people, then who am I? And then in that moment, it was like a domino effect of remembering Lisa. So Lisa's past memories came in, her feelings, her experience, her traumas, her joys, her loves, her preferences, the sensations of the body. And then the room began to come in. So the sound outside of the cars, toot toot, the warmth, the set feeling of the fan, my sight came back in. So the room, the objects, they all came in one by one, like a domino effect. And so what that did was that was like an awakening, and it really clearly showed me that there was something that was experiencing this that was prior to Lisa. It was prior to everything, and it was absolutely neutral. Had no color to it, but yet it was experiencing and it was awake. And it was possible that that happened without Lisa being there. So Lisa wasn't the experiencer. Lisa wasn't required for experiencing to happen. And so that sounds like a similar experience. And it's complete stripping away of everything. And then after that, whenever anyone talked about this subject, I knew exactly what they meant. It was like and it wasn't even Lisa that knew what it meant. It was like something had been pulled open. And as soon as someone spoke about it, this existence was recognizing itself. So even now when I'm speaking about it, this existence is like, knows it. And then also the Lisa character knows it, because she's understood it, because she knows the before and the after. But that's intellectual. But then there's another part that knows it beyond Lisa. It recognizes itself. And this is an awakening. There's all these other awakenings that happens, but this is one part of the awakening.
So one thing you talked about with nothingness and love, when like the identity came back, there was a sense of pure love that God has for its creation.
Mm.
And there was, well, no, it's not arrogant when I say it was God speaking through the mouth, but it wasn't me speaking, it was God speaking.
Mm.
And I felt just pure love for the creation. And it's also, this also is connected to the other thing I wanted to talk about. About 2 years ago, I could like feel into this moment right now, existence, and tune into this pure love that is just making this possible.
Mm. Mm.
And I feel so much gratitude.
Mm.
But I cannot make sense of it, like like how do I use it?
Yeah, it's absolutely unusable.
And it's
That's
so
the
beautiful.
great thing. Yeah, that's the great thing about it. You can't use it. Like everything, the human is always looking for use. Like, what can I do with this, or what can I do with that, or how can I use that to help me survive or improve my survival. And this is absolutely unusable. It's beyond that. That's what makes it unconditioned love. Yeah.
Oh man, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And so the love side.
Yeah. On the love side, what?
It's okay. You can finish off having the response. It's beautiful. So on the love side, so what I described was the no-thing side of existence, and the love side has to come with forms, and I call it. I call that the I am side, but it's absolutely impersonal. The I am side, but it needs forms. Could also be called the feminine side of non-duality. So the masculine side is the emptiness, the nothing, and it needs the forms. And it was so that awakening that I described before is only partial. So it's like if you imagine the yin and yang side, it's just the black image, and then the yang side is this image. And so the love side is like this beingness, which is of everything. It comes with forms. So on my website, I have the quote from Nisargadatta Maharaj, which says, "To know I am nothing is wisdom. To know I am everything is love. And in between my life resides." So it's these two different things. And to me, what happened, just from my experience again, just because, I could speak about other people's experiences. But I just will go for this. So what happened to me is it's like, so this empty looking went out into everything. But then also this I am, this sense of love in your heart went out into everything. So the empty looking went into all things, and that sense of being went into all things. And the sense of being is love. So what you'd call like the pure amness, not like I am Lisa or I am a thing or I am something, just this amness went into everything. And it's like these two things are interwoven, they're not separate. So they both went into everything. Like, so my sense of being and this empty looking went back into everything when I had the awakening. That's really hard to describe because they're also kind of looking from here. But it's in all things. So the observer and the observed are one and the same thing. So that existence is one and the same thing. But the human personality, when it's identified, has kind of made everything be squashed into the body, and that's the lie. And I always like to say now, because I think it's really important that we recognize everybody's humanity as well, is that God is speaking through this, and like God is looking through this, and that's the way it is. Like God is moving the mouth, like God is looking through the eyes, but it's coming through the personality of Lisa. So it comes through the personality. So it's in order to have experience, you have to have a body there in order to experience through. You have to have senses there in which you experience through, and that's what we would call Lisa's senses. So this comes out as Lisa's expression, even though like really it's God moving the mouth, it's God like looking through the eyes. And I try to define that better now because it's a difficult area.
You mean it's just happening on its own without control, just like water flowing down the river?
Yeah, totally. beautiful. That's beautiful. But it's a difficult area. I just meant as in like saying now that this is God speaking or good God looking. Of course it is everywhere. But
yeah, this form enables
yeah.
God.
That's not. That's a. It has to. You have to be. It has to be seemingly looking from a position, even though that looking is all things and no thing.
Oh, that's so beautiful.
Yeah.
You're also right that with what you were talking about with non-duality, won't fix the person itself. It just, yeah. But it's so beautiful. Yeah.
The constant lover, as Tony Parsons would say. I think that's such a nice expression. It's like it's always loving. The essence is always there, like embracing everything that happens. Otherwise, this life would be really torturous if you're just identified without knowing that.
It's so unconditional.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
I don't know if even this human can be like unconditional.
No, the human can't. What can happen, in these awakening experiences is the person becomes like really unfeathered or unattached, so it becomes very see-through. But the person is always conditioned. That's the nature of being human. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like that too is
that's
love.
So beautiful.
Yeah. So you could say, like with these awakening experiences, maybe you could say the person becomes more loving. If you think as, like when I was younger, like in my teens and I was suffering so much, like I had so much hate inside of me. So you could say that like changes. Like if you imagine someone really suffering and in agony, they can be so nasty and like when they're really identified. So maybe you could say that lightens, but the person can't be unconditioned. That's the nature of anything, just like a box can't be unconditioned. The box is conditioned to be a box. It can't suddenly become a circle. Yeah. It's got to keep the form of a box. Or if something more complicated, or a dog, like the dog can't just suddenly sit up and start being a cat. It's got to maneuver in the conditions of a dog. And a dog likes to chase rabbits and deers and kangaroos if you live in Australia. Like it likes meat. It has all these social games that it plays. They have a pecking order and dominance. And the rabbit is conditioned to be the rabbit. It likes cucumber and lettuce and grass. And it's a prey animal, so it runs away. It's more fearful.
Life is so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. But when you're totally zoomed into the human, then you're seeing the world in opposites. Yeah. You're seeing the world in good and bad, black and white, right and wrong, guilt and shame, pride and arrogance. No, that's not the opposite to pride. Humility, maybe. But you're seeing it in these opposite worlds. And then when you step beyond that, you see that the essence of it is beauty, the essence of it is love. and the human knows the world in opposites, and there's nothing wrong with that. That doesn't have to die in the human, that's part of functioning. But that's not the way the world is. That's not the truth. That's not who you are, so a subject that's in relationship with object, and me that's in relation with other. It's an experience. And there is something which is experiencing that beyond the human, which is the divine.
Thank you, Lisa.
With pleasure, Lucas. Thank you so much. That was really beautiful. I really felt connected in that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, with pleasure. Lots of love to you.
Yeah, lots of love to you too. Okay, bye.
Bye. So sweet. Okay, so Donna, I will call you next. Donna Barton. That's okay, reading both your names. I just thought there might be another Donna. Yeah, and just I'm waiting for her to see that message so she doesn't get too much of a shock. I would just say that there is another channel. You can see it if you go to featured channels on my channel called Lisa Cairns Video Clips. And it's not run by me, I don't have anything to do with it, but another gentleman who enjoys my talks edits all the videos and posts them edited on there. And so if you prefer to see more condensed talking rather than all my like flapping around and going to the toilet and talking to Khaleesi, or maybe he keeps the talking to Khaleesi in, then that channel is good for that. And he has some other channels, I think, of other spiritual teachers. So it's called Lisa Cairns Video Clips. Okay, Donna, you haven't seen my message yet, so I hope this isn't too shocking for you, but I'm going to call you now. Thank you so much. That was really beautiful. Hey, Donna.
Hi.
Felt connected in that. I think you need to turn off the YouTube volume because I'm speaking to you through Skype.
Okay, let me do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, with pleasure. Lots of love to you.
Yeah, lots of love to you too. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Yeah, it's off? Nice.
Yes. Yes.
Nice. Yeah, you're a little bit behind, so I'm sorry if that was a little shocking.
Yeah, it was, but that was fun. Oh, how beautiful, Lisa.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to talk with you.
Yeah, I'm happy to speak with you too.
Hi. So my wondering is, as the observer is the observed, that's almost like a third thing. I've wondered about this for some time. I know that there's really nothing, and yet it's almost like in between the perspective of human and divine, there's a third thing created that's like the hologram of both in a way, that's kind of gradually assumed or something like that. Can you say anything about that? Some of it comes from, traditions where there's like a trinity sort of, or even like with the Heart Sutra, there's form is formlessness and formlessness is form, and then it's like we're something, this mysterious thing in between all of that. So that's my wondering.
Yeah, I don't know what that means. The Trinity, like I've heard that, actually the only place that I've heard the Trinity spoken of is most probably in Christianity, and also Bentinho, I don't know his last name, I forgot how to say his last name, like he has like a Trinity Academy, so I don't know what people mean by that. Maybe you have to explain it a bit more to me, and then I can get a sense of it.
Well, it's like, and I think it's also in Indian culture. There's Shakti and Shiva, and well, I didn't come prepared with examples. It's just been the idea that
there's three.
Right, and I believe it's also in the Gurdjieff work as well, which is so anyway, that I don't know if I can explain it anymore other than there's I guess another way to ask this question might be asking you about in your experience of no self, or not, like the dissolving of Lisa, that that there's still this character that feels itself more connected with a coexisting reality that's not this physical one, and so it's like the identification of the human switches from form to formlessness, which is felt with the heart, which is navigated in a different way, and that it seems, I mean, in my experience, that seems gradual, like a gradual sort of shift or building of an energetic self that recognizes and sort of begins to swim in this reality. I don't know if that makes sense.
I really want to get on board, but I'm not sure I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Like I really like the ideas and the words and everything, and I can feel like, yeah, but I just can't, my brain can't match up all the words.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you listening so well. I'm trying to I'm curious, to sort of discover, anyone else that has sort of a similar experience of because everyone is so different in their sort of dissolving into the mystery or experiencing it, and and perhaps we get like these ideas that sort of frame it in some way. I don't know.
Yeah, totally.
Who knows? Who knows? So anyway, I just wanted to ask about that.
Yeah, the only thing that comes to mind, but I don't know if it's the same as what you're talking about. So if it's not, it's the best that seems to come up. Is that you have this? There's so many different awakenings that can happen, but you have this moment where there is the detachment from the character, and that is like this expansion back into yourself. So when you're attached to the character, there is like this limitation. So your essence feels limited, but you don't really know that it's limited. And then when the detachment happens, it's like your essence shifts around with the character. So the character goes into the background, and then your essence like expands back into itself. So your sense of being and that empty looking goes back into itself. But the character is still there. So in the beginning, I used to talk about no self, but I think that was more conditioning from the non-duality that I'd been exposed to. And then over the years, that's begun to fall away. And I'm not exactly sure what people mean when they say that no self, because there's still, to me, a personality that comes in and out and is expanding and evolving with this realization. And that's like the human element of it. So it's like you have this personality which, like, so you have this awakening, and then this personality kind of intellectually understands it and then begins to embody it more and more in the human world. And I don't get the sense that ever ends, because when you look at anything in life like that everything is always endless. Like knowledge is infinite. And I suppose our capacity to embody this is infinite.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. And so, I mean, like what you're saying does resonate with what I'm trying to describe, because there's a feeling of sort of like grasping how to navigate it gradually, as like accepting the character and also accepting that there's not a character. So it's like learning how to be in the world but not of it, right?
Yeah, nice. Yeah, totally. Yeah, and really accepting that the character can never really live up to the ideal of enlightenment. I mean, maybe that's maybe not the same for everybody, maybe it manifests differently, but that the character really never becomes enlightened. Like the character evolves to this, but really accepting our humanity, like our humanness in all its colors. And I do think that from this realization, it makes you look more at the character, and also this realization shifts the character. So it makes it expand more. But there is also this humanity here, like we have to eat, we have to consume, we have to live in the confines of a society. Like we're not singular animals like a tiger, we're a collective animal in a way, like we live in a colony. We live like in a beehive, like of humans, like accepting relationships, accepting that communication always has shortcomings. So, and communication and relationships are so interlinked. So accepting that communication is always something that we have to aspire to perfect. So in relationships, that we can all do better at our communication, we can all do better at our listening, we can all do better at conceptualizing our understanding of each other. So there's always potential for growth, there's always a potential for expansion, there's always a potential for a deeper human understanding of non-duality, of how it fits in with being human.
That's so beautiful. And what I think of when you say that is like how, see, and I've never explored this with anyone, but like that there's a constant, we're all sort of like, well, like what you're saying with the communication, that's what you demonstrate so beautifully in these meetings, is that you're always meeting the other person where they're at, rather than, you know, talking at them about something. So in a way, you're meeting the other as yourself, who, you know, the other is yourself with a different understanding. And so you're supporting them in being lifted, rather, you know, like empowering, right?
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, that's really nice.
And I mean, that's what I love about you so much, is that you're it's like you're demonstrating it not by the words you say, but by the energy of how you're doing it.
Oh,
I have tears in my eyes.
That's beautiful. Thank you for saying that. Like, it's yeah, that's really beautiful. Like, it's not intentional. Like, I'm not conscious that I'm doing that, but it's really beautiful to have that reflected back.
Yeah, because it's I mean, you're demonstrating how it's not the words, it's not the concepts, it's not anything other than the presence that it's all coming from. And so, anyway, in that regard, I also want, like I love the work of Carl Jung and how he speaks of that we're all there's the unconscious is always being, it's always sort of coming forward to be recognized in a way, and what I mean by this is the collective, like our prehistoric, like like what we've evolved from is like, it's like how the fuel we put in our cars was actually a peat bog once, right? I mean, so it's like we're putting in our cars something that was plants millions of years ago, and in the same way our misunderstanding of ourselves and the world and our hatred and all those incomprehensible clashes actually come from a history of misunderstanding, and so today we're all kind of gradually dissolving that, and it's not personal, it's all
and I think that's so beautiful. Like that's such an important part. Like I don't really know how to express that, but it's that you, on the human level, we can't be separate from our society.
Right.
So we all have to digest all the karma of society together.
Yes.
You can have people that are at the front of that, but maybe they go to the back of it eventually. So you can have people that are pushing it forward, but that doesn't mean anything because everybody has to do it. Because they're the ones that are going to have the next children, and the next children. It's like we as humans are one in a way. We're like a beehive, and so on the human level, it has to be a collective waking up, like a collective shifting, and it is happening. You can see that. Like it's coming so much more into consciousness, the idea of psychology, the idea of our connection with our environment, the idea of spirituality, the God not being like a singular male figure that lives up in the sky on top of a cloud. Like all of this is coming more and more into our collective consciousness. I can feel it.
Right. And it's like nothing was wrong. It's like those ideas we needed, like historic, whatever, they were necessary for us to cope or whatever, but now they are like a burden and a weight or a karmic, just it's something like our, worshiping something outside of ourselves or, giving meaning to, but I love how you demonstrate that, like it's just a reminder that it's like in how we look at each other and the tone of voice and the littlest things, and just how much of an impact that makes, so in terms of like even like with the on the human personal level, we care for ourselves, then we can, it's just so, it's like it's allows us to sort of lift the other one up when particular in the moment when we least want to. so that it's like like when it seems the least obvious, when someone's being a complete asshole, and remembering that that's me. That's me as a little child, without just like wanting to have a fit, or whatever way can be framed to make it, to remember that it's innocent,
Yeah.
Anyway, it was just lovely talking to you.
Yeah, thanks, Donna. That was really beautiful. I really enjoyed it too.
Yeah. Thank you.
Really
Bye-bye.
nice. Yeah, lots of love to you, Donna. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
That's so sweet. God, we're having like a love fest tonight. A love fest. Hello. Yes, the audio is still working. Okay, we go on to Idia, yes. Just you can see you could hear Donna was quite far behind, so when I called her, it gave her a bit of a surprise. But normally it should only be 10 seconds. Maybe she paused it or something for a while. And sometimes it's only a couple of seconds. Ready. Pardon me. Hello.
Oh.
Hello. Hello. I think you turned your volume off. You just got to turn your volume
that was
back
wrong.
on.
That
There, that one. Yeah, there. I can hear you now.
How do you hear me?
I don't. I hear you very well. It's good audio.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Nice.
Thank you. I'm so happy to talk to you.
Yeah. Can you just remind me how to say your name? Idia.
Ida.
Thank you.
Ida. Yeah.
Ida. Nice.
Yes. We have met. I think it was. I don't know when you were in Oslo. Was it in 2017? 16?
Yeah,
15,
maybe. Yeah,
18?
something like that. I can't remember. But yeah, I've only ever been there once.
Yes, you have been there only once. And that's when you, or maybe you knew Asbjørn before?
No, I think that was the first time I met him, so it must have been like 2015. Yeah.
Yes, because I think he might have been the one who arranged that talk.
No, that was a guy called Yada.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, okay. But anyway, I thought I was going to suggest that I could teach you to pronounce his name.
That would be really fantastic, because it's really awful that I can't pronounce his name. Like, I really do feel not so good about that.
That's not awful. That's not awful. But the awful thing is that you call him Asborn. That's
Osborne. I call him.
Osborne, yes, but it's very easy to pronounce, really.
Okay.
But it's a letter in his name. I understand you, because you don't have this letter in English language.
Yeah.
And it's Asbjørn.
Asbjørn,
yeah. Bjørn.
Asbjørn.
Bjørn, yeah.
Do I say that Bjørn right? Asbjørn.
Yes, Bjørn, yeah. Asbjørn.
Asbjørn.
It's right, yeah.
It sounds like it's slightly different from yours, like you go down Asbjørn.
Asbjørn, yeah.
Asbjørn.
And I don't know, I might be pronouncing his name from a North Norway. That's possible, that I do have a different melody.
Asbjørn.
Asbjørn. I am. I'm teaching you the North Norwegian way to say his name, actually.
But I think he's from, he's quite far north, he lives.
Is he quite far north?
I think he's like a good 4 or 5 hours. Yeah. Asbjørn.
Yes, and I think he does an amazing job. I love those short videos.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I love what you do, and I am so happy that you do it. And
Oh, thank you.
And of course, you're not doing it, of course, but I love you very much, and your presence in every Sunday afternoon.
Oh, thanks. Oh, I love you too. Thank you for saying that.
And I was going to ask you about Khaleesi. Are you planning to have puppies?
Oh no, she can't have babies. She had like a womb out, so she couldn't have babies.
Okay.
So no, she can't have them.
Okay.
And
That's
she's too old now. She's 9 years old.
Yeah, she's 9. That's too
Yeah,
old. I think.
yeah. So that's like something like 64 in human years or something.
Okay. I have a dog. Her name is Windy. She's now 6. And
Oh
when she
yeah,
was 2 years, she had a what do you call it when she had 5
litter.
puppies?
Oh,
Yeah,
so
and
sweet.
that was amazing. They were all 5 totally distinctly different personalities. So amazing to watch them.
Yeah, and it's meant
And
to
they're
really help the mother, like make her more friendly and more.
yes, she definitely got more. What's the word? Keeping
Maternal?
the house. What's the word when you? She barks when someone comes.
Ah,
More.
defensive, like a more.
Yeah, much more. Yeah. But she's half Tibetan and Tibetan. What's the word? Spaniel.
Oh, yes, Spaniel, yeah.
Yes, she's half that and half Papillon.
Oh, sweet.
And I learned that the Tibetan Spaniels, they were bred to keep the monks in Tibet aware of people coming, because they kept their eyes closed most of the time, so they needed someone to tell when someone was around. So I can't get that off for Winnie. She will always be telling us when someone comes, but it's over as soon as we know it's over.
Yeah, you have to send me a picture of her. I wonder what she looks like.
Yeah, she's so beautiful. I will do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you about something, and this is a little bit personal, but it's okay. I will keep it on stream. It's no problem.
Yeah.
Because I feel that my life is flowing. By the way, I have to say that talk with the gentleman before, and also the last call, have all been so very warming my heart.
Yeah.
Very much.
Yeah.
Very beautiful. I love them both.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much. I was going to ask about this shitty thing that suddenly, out of the blue, I've fell in love. I've fallen in love, and that's very, very disturbing. My peace.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much. Very, very much. And I really don't know how to handle this other than just turning my back on that and saying it's okay. I would just drop that. No go. And that's also very painful because it's a kind of mutual thing. So it's wrong at the same time.
Yeah. Have you ever looked into attachment styles? Have you ever heard about this?
No, I haven't.
You might find this helpful if you look. It's called attachment styles, and I can't explain it now. Like
No.
It's
but thank you.
it's really complex, but it
it is really complex.
Yeah, it can be really helpful. It's kind of like really complex, but it's also really simple. It's basically the theory of it is that in the first 3 and 6 years, so your first 3 years and then your first 6 years, like your attachment to your primary caregiver is really important, and then and if you've had difficulties with attaching to your primary caregiver, then it kind of goes on to talk about like the difficulties in which it creates in relationships as you get older. And it's so helpful understanding this, I've found, because it kind of it will make you understand or it will help you or guide you to understand what your unconscious is doing in that dynamic. Because and this is it's not really to do with non-duality. Like really falling in love is a bit of an abstract thing. What I think falling in love is 2 different elements. Is one, it's like all you ever long for. So it makes you feel very safe and secure. And then what happens is the seeking stops. So you begin to taste the divine in that interaction. But that is like really, really scary. And then you've got your conditioned responses that are formed in the first 6 years of your life of how you deal with that intimate relationship. Because it's so fascinating. Like our fundamental thing of being a human is relationship, like subject, object. So and in our first 5 years or 6 years of life, our parents are teaching us like our relationship with objects, which includes humans. So if you've got like a really insecure relationship in those first 5 years, then you'll tend to be more insecure in this subject-object relationship. Non-duality talks about going beyond that, like the love which is beyond that. But in the human world, it's all about those 5-6 years.
I know. Yes, I know.
In the way
it freaks me very much out, but at the same time, I am in this.
Yeah.
This heavenly.
Realm as well, and maybe like exploring this on the human level, because I do think that we can change it, and you can like recondition it to an extent, and exploring it with a safe person is like a really exciting thing to do, to see like on the human level the way in which you're seeing that relationship, the way in which you're pushing it away, or the way in which you're grabbing onto it, the seeking energy that gets involved, you know, like seeking energy comes, and then there's like very strong identification with the person.
Yeah,
so
very strong.
Yeah. So, I think it's because relationship is the most important thing in the human world.
Also,
yeah, totally vulnerable.
Yeah, totally vulnerable. Yeah.
Yeah. And
but that was very good tips. Thank you very much. Attachment stance. I will do. Check this out.
And it's like a really simple theory, but I think it's like a really like it's complex to understand it. So you need to take time in understanding.
Yeah, but it also depersonalize. What's the word? Yeah, it's not so very sticky.
Yeah.
I can get it.
Yeah, and it's just simply like looking at the way in which you attach to your first primary caregiver or the few primary caregivers, and then the way in which you deal with that. So we all deal with it in different ways. So for me, I tend to be, I think when I was younger, I was a lot of things, but now I'm becoming more secure, also because of my current partner. So I'm more secure in relationships. So therefore and also my awakenings and stuff, so I have quite a security now. But my tendency is to be avoidant. So my tendency is to withdraw and to be by myself, to feel like happy by myself.
Yeah.
Which
I believe
also
that
fits.
Also is my own tendency. But also at when I was around 1, my mother left my father, and we didn't really connect met once a year for years. And
with your mother or with your father?
When I lived with my mother.
All right, so with your father,
Yeah, and I did not look forward to going to him at all. I was very, very much missing my home when I was a child, and he didn't understand. He was like, "Oh, you're missing your mother. That's a very good sign. Yes, please go to bed. Go back to bed." You know. And it was a lot of nights I was not very happy going to sleep. I did not feel very safe, and I do feel the same anxiety involved in this, in loveness that I do feel now, and that really, really shoves me far back, and I just want to have nothing to do with this guy at all. So,
but what we do, but on the human level, like forgetting awakening or not awakening, even if you're the most enlightened person, we do want intimacy on the human level, because we don't survive alone. We can kind of survive alone in this society now because of the concept of money, but it's still, there is. Like even with your dog, there's an urge to have intimacy.
Yeah.
And so your natural desire actually will be to be close with him and to have intimacy, but then your defense will be to avoid.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. But thank you. I will check this out.
Maybe it's really helpful. So I notice, like if I'm being avoidant now, I'll tend to try now to notice if I'm being avoidant. And being avoidant, like when you begin to get into it, you realize that being avoidant, like, so one thing that I'll do is I'll start noticing that I begin to imagine being by myself. And that is part of being avoidant. And I didn't really realize that was a bit of a defense strategy that I was doing, because I've done it for so many years and I do really enjoy my own company, and that's not a problem. Like that's like it's good to enjoy your own company.
Problem free. That's very problem.
But why, when you're with people, are you imagining being alone? Like, So your alone time will come when it comes, but if you're imagining it, then it tends to be that there's like a part of my human character that's distancing. And so when that begins to happen now, like I'm imagining it, like I'll begin to realize that I'm distancing, and actually you want to connect. We actually want to connect. So I see it as a sign.
It doesn't feel good when it happens.
Yeah. So I see it as a sign to actually move a little bit forward rather than backwards. But it's really interesting. You'll find loads of it on the internet. It's really in vogue at the moment.
I love you. Thank you so much.
Oh, I love you too. And thank you for teaching me how to say, Osborne.
How I can think of another word in the English. Hi. Asbjørn.
Asbjørn. Asbjørn. It's also a combination with my dyslexia. Like, so when you're dyslexic, you find it hard to conceptualize new
But I think you
sounds.
said it pretty good. You try again. Asbjørn.
Asbjørn. Asbjørn.
Asbjørn. Yes.
Asbjørn will be sitting at home cheering at the moment, like, yeah, finally, I named the right name. She said it.
I'm so happy about your work, Asbjørn, if you're listening.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yours,
Asbjørn.
Lisa. Thank you so
yeah,
much.
Thank you for your call. Yeah.
Thank you.
Nice.
Goodbye.
That's love. Bye.
That's a love. Goodbye.
That's sweet. Okay, so maybe that we're coming to the end now. Hopefully my partner has got the pizzas on. He often listens, so if he hasn't, maybe that's a reminder. We have pizzas normally after my talk. Oven pizzas. I'll suddenly hear the doors open and close now as he goes to the kitchen. But I just quickly go through a few of the comments and just say a quick hello to people. So, hey Sarah, she says, call me. We'll do that. Please write in next week and I'll call you next week. Hi Isabel. Oh, thank you for the picture. Me and Khaleesi are the same age. Oh, you are. I think she's actually 62 because she's not quite, on her DNA page, they say the age. So she's 62, I think. Not 64. She'll be 9 in September and then she'll be 64. But yeah, she certainly surpassed me. And she's going a little bit bald. I don't know if anyone's had a dog before that has... In Thailand, they often are bald. And when I first met her, she was bald. She had bald patches. And then when she came to Europe, they went. But she's got a few of them back now on the back of her leg. So I'm trying these different things to see if I can get her hair to grow back. It's like a man, except on her back legs, and not on top of the head. She's balding. Oh, hi, Malfred. Lots of love to you. And I'll answer your question next week as we go over a bit. But hello. Hi, Eugene. Hi, Alexa. Alexel. Hi, Alexel. Thanks for your question. And maybe you can write in next week and I'll answer it then. Hi, Glenn. Hi, Bia. Oh, that's cute. Hi, Aman. Call me. Yeah, next week if you write in, then we can speak hopefully next week. Hi, Thomas. Hi, Johnny. Yeah, thanks for your question. Maybe write in next week and there's some time then. Hi, Nick. Ooh, an upside down water. Oh no, it's not upside down. It's from underneath the water. No rainbow. Hi, Hassan. I don't know where you disappeared to, Hassan. Did I click on you? Yeah, I didn't have... You disappeared. That's weird. Oh, hi, Giacomo. Oh, that's so cute. I wonder if it's eating it or smelling it, breathing it in. Like, appreciating the smell of... Nice. Okay. Thank you so much. I I really appreciate talking and sharing with everybody. And I really appreciate all the callers that were so open and honest and willing to share themselves. It's beautiful. And I really, 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 really wish you everything, everything. And I send you lots of love, and I shall see you next Sunday. Goodbye.